Okay, guys. So let's get started without any further ado. Before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my name is Mohammed Shoaib. I will be your cybersecurity trainer for the rest of the duration of the course. And again, I've had an experience of more than 5+ years for training students in this certain domain, cybersecurity itself. And I specialize in web application penetration testing, web app security. Okay, and I've also worked as a SOC analyst earlier in a company called Symbiosis in Visakhapatnam. Right? So now again, let's get started. So the demo today is on a course called Certified Ethical Hacking version 12. Okay. Now this is the latest version running of the course, and I think this is a course designed for people specifically who are planning on getting into this or getting started in cybersecurity. One of the fundamental courses that is taken up by almost all students to start in cybersecurity. Okay, from the organization called EC Council. Now, before we get into what the course is about and what topics we'll be covering, any questions or doubts on your end, guys?
No question. I don't have any question.
Right. Okay. So let's get started. So the course is called Certified Ethical Hacking, and a lot of students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are pretty same or pretty similar. Now let's clarify that first. So there are two different objectives altogether. So when we talk about hacking first, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. What I mean by this phrase, gaining access to information systems, is if I've hacked your phone, it basically means I've complete remote control of your phone. I can access the data on your phone. I can steal your information. I can destroy the information on your phone, delete it without your permission, or even sell it to other people. Okay, and all of this is done without your knowledge or without your consent. Okay. Now, these information systems could be anything. We have taken an example of a mobile phone, but it could in reality be also your databases or web servers or again firewalls, etc., etc. Okay. So hacking is the procedure of trying to gain access to these information systems without the permission and without the knowledge of the organization owning those systems. And this is usually performed by hackers for their own benefit. Or sometimes hackers are so mischievous they can even do it just for fun. Okay. Now, if hacking is such a malicious activity, if it is such a wrong thing to do, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? And how is this getting ethical in the first place? To define ethical hacking, secondly, we have this as a procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. So this term called vulnerability is something that you'll keep coming across multiple times in the upcoming days. Okay. To define it, it's a loophole, it's a flaw or a weakness in the information system. Okay. And your job in ethical hacking is to find these loopholes in the information systems with the consent and with the knowledge of the organization owning those systems. Now, why do you need to find these loopholes? These are the same loopholes that are used by hackers to attack the systems. So your job is to find these loopholes first and report it back to the company so that they can apply the necessary security update or the required patch for it, and they can remove that loophole. Okay. And once the loophole has been removed, there's no more flaw in the system to attack, and thereby you're protecting the organization from these cyber threats. You're preventing hacking from occurring. Okay. So again, a quick glance at it. Ethical hacking is a procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities or loopholes in the information systems with the consent of the organization and with their knowledge. And once you find them, you report it back so that they can be patched up and thereby prevent any further harm or any cyber threats. Okay. Now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, we have categories of hackers. There's three broad categories. There's someone known as a white hat hacker, there's someone known as a gray hat hacker, and then there's someone known as a black hat hacker. When you talk about black hat hackers first, these are people who perform hacking for their own benefit or just for fun without asking for consent. So what they're performing is hacking, and therefore they can be called as hackers or cyber criminals. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, you have white hat hackers, someone who abides by the laws and policies of the organization and works for securing the organization's infrastructure from hackers. And therefore, they are called as cybersecurity professionals or ethical hackers. Okay. And in between, there's a third category called gray hat hackers. Now, these people have both the qualities of a black hat as well as a white hat. So, like a black hat hacker, they won't ask for permission first. So, without seeking permission, they directly get into finding the vulnerabilities. But once they do find a vulnerability, they don't misuse that. They don't utilize it for their own personal gain. They report it back to the company for a bounty. So bounty itself is a financial reward they expect in return, again, without any wrongdoings, so that they can, again, legally take some advantage out of it rather than illegally attacking the organization. Okay. So these people are also commonly known as bug bounty hunters. They hunt for bugs in organizations' devices and in return expect a bounty for it. Okay, by reporting the vulnerability back to the organization. Now, no matter what category of hackers you take, black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, or white hat hackers, they're professional people or individuals who perform hacking in a certain procedure, hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is commonly known as cyber killing. Some organizations also refer to it as hacking cycle as well. So do not worry if you hear these terms. These are basically the procedures followed in organizations to perform ethical hacking and secure your organization's devices. Also used by hackers to attack us with. Procedures are pretty similar. Okay, so to define it, the procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack, whose knowledge allows cybersecurity professionals as well to understand these attacks, to detect these attacks, and prevent them at every level, is called as cyber kill chain. And the cyber kill chain consists of 5 important steps. The first step in the cyber kill chain or hacking cycle is called as information gathering. Second step is called as scanning. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Now, if you carefully observe here, only in the last step, I've mentioned two different terminologies. What I indicate by this is basically no matter what category of a hacker you are, first 4 steps are exactly similar. There's no change in the procedure in the first 4 steps. They're exactly identical. What varies is the end result. If you are a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you report the vulnerabilities back to the organization. You explain the loopholes to them and you try to remediate them. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, you won't be reporting anything. Obviously, you want to stay anonymous and you don't want to get traced out. So therefore, you remove the evidences of your actions. That, in simple terms, is called as clearing traces. Okay. Don't worry, we're going to talk about each of these steps now one by one, so you have a better idea about the entire contents of the course. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this point before we progress further? Tanuja, Ganesh, Aisha.
No.
Perfect. Hi, Ganesh. I think you've joined a bit late. But don't worry, guys. All of these sessions are being recorded and they will be uploaded online on YouTube. So on the official channel of DurgaSoft itself. Therefore, you can access them. Even though you have joined late, you can always access the recording and go through the content again. Okay. Now, moving forward. So let's talk about each of these phases now. So you have a better idea about the entire course curriculum. Yeah, Ganesh, you were saying something. Your mic was unmuted. Okay. Assuming no questions forward, let's move on. Now, when you talk about information gathering, the first phase here, some organizations also refer to it as reconnaissance or footprinting. Okay, so don't get confused again. These are the same different terminologies used for the same objective or for the same process. And what you do over here is you try to gather as much information as possible about the target organization. But an important point to note here is all of this information is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is you do not contact the organization in any way, and you do not let them know that you're getting this information. You get all the data required from other third party sources without making any direct contact with the organization. Like, but the main question that arises here is what kind of information are we trying to gather? What do we need here? And this is the information as follows. So, whenever you work as a hacker or an ethical hacker, you first try to obtain all of these pieces of information because these act as the entry points for you on the target organization's devices. So, the IP addresses or the group of IP addresses, also commonly known as network blocks, or the who's records telling you who's hosting the website for them. When was their website first hosted? When will their website expire? When will their website get updated? Then the DNS records. Every organization has a DNS server. It contains the domains and subdomains of the organization with their correlating IP addresses. Okay, so we need those records as well. We need the operating system information. What OS are they using on their servers? Are they running on Linux servers? Are they running it on Microsoft servers? If so, what versions of Linux or Microsoft servers are they using? What operating system are they using? Then employee details, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees. usernames and passwords of these employees, which might have been leaked online somewhere in any data breach. Okay. So again, all of this information is obtained in this phase. Believe it or not, all of this information is readily available. You only need to know what those resources are, what those websites are, from where you can get this information. If I show you an example, a practical live example for this, let's say if I wanted the DNS records for any company, okay, I can just simply go to my browser here. Oh, I don't have my browser, one second. So I can open up my browser here. And in my browser, I can do a quick search called DNS Dumpster. Now, this is a very popular website in the cybersecurity domain, which allows you to get the DNS records of any organization. And as mentioned earlier, DNS records are basically the records linking every domain and subdomain of an organization with their exact IP addresses. So if I search for an organization like Infosys.com, let's say Infosys.com, and if I hit enter, now this starts showing me all the DNS records for Infosys, where the servers are geolocated at the moment. Scroll down much further, and these are the two DNS servers for Infosys. Okay, these are the host names and the exact IP addresses of those servers. So these IPs are very crucial for a hacker or an ethical hacker because these are the IPs that you would scan and try to find vulnerabilities on to attack on them. Okay, later on. So these are the two servers which contain all the DNS records. And from here on, we have the records. So this is the mail server record telling you what is Infosys mail server's IP. And these are the host records from here. Main domain of Infosys and the subdomains of Infosys and their exact correlating IPs. So these IPs are very crucial. This is the identity of the server of that organization. Okay. And the server is hosting this website. Okay. So if you want to find vulnerabilities on that server, you need the server's IP. So those IP addresses are revealed over here. Again, nothing illegal here, guys. This organization itself has to give out that information across the internet. DNS Dumpster simply collects all that information and puts it in one single place for easy access. Okay. So this information is actually given out by Infosys itself, but it's spread across the internet on various DNS servers. So DNS Dumpster collects all that and puts it in one place for you to have a better access to it. Okay. And if you scroll down much further, this is like the graphical network topology, same information, but represented in a graphical format on how all the servers are interconnected. So it has one mail server, two DNS servers, and so on. So web servers, okay, with these subdomains hosted on each server. Okay. So this is an example, a practical live example on how you get the DNS records for any organization. Similarly, for other pieces of information, you have other websites which will give you all the data required. Now, once all of that data has been obtained, that data is now utilized in the next phase called scanning. So scanning is also commonly called as enumeration. Okay, so that's another name for this phase. And the objective here is to gather extra information. Now, you might be confused or you might be frustrated. We have already gathered information in the earlier phase. What is this again? Now, here you get information by making active and aggressive connections. If you note, in the earlier phase, we got the information passively from third-party sources. But here, whatever IPs you obtained in the earlier phases, whatever domain names you obtained, whatever subdomains you obtained, whatever operating system of information you have obtained, you utilize those pieces of information here to get some extra data. But here you have to make an active connection. So you connect on those IPs, you connect on those domains, you make connections to those servers of the organization and retrieve some extra data. And that is called as scanning. One second. Oops. Okay, anyways. Right. So again, to understand what scanning is, we can actually break it down in three parts. There's something called as network scanning, there's something called as port scanning, and then there's something called as vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, you try to figure out what all active devices are there in the local organization. So for example, if there's a company, Infosys itself, in our instance, now in that internal organization, in their internal network, how many devices exist? How many servers are they using? How many client operating systems are they using? How many firewalls are they using? Or what category of firewalls are they using? Do they have any IDS, IPS systems? So trying to get a network topology of their internal network to get a picture of how many devices exist in their local network is what network scanning is. Getting to know what all devices are active in their network. Once you know what devices are active, on these devices, you have something called ports. And on these ports, you receive or send data. So these are logical ports, what I'm talking about. On these ports, you have some services or applications running. which keep constantly sending data or receiving data from other devices. So you try to figure out what ports are open, what services are running on those devices which are active. And once you know what services are running, finally you perform vulnerability scanning to figure out if any of those services has a loophole to attack on or to be exploited on. Okay. So it's a step-by-step procedure. You're finding the devices first. On those devices, you're finding what ports are open and what services are running on them. And on those services, you're checking if there's any loopholes to attack on. And during this phase, we'll be using two very important tools which are asked in a lot of job descriptions for cybersecurity. One of them is called Nmap, stands for Network Mapper. Been there since a very long time. It's been there since 1997. Okay. And it is still used in even the latest bleeding edge tools, cutting edge tools. Okay. So again, good thing this is completely open source, so you can utilize this for free, or you use this for free in your organization for performing network and port scanning. Okay. But for vulnerability scanning, we have much better tools actually. There's something called Tenable Nessus, which we'll be working on to perform vulnerability scanning. And this is not a free one. It's quite expensive actually. If you scroll down on this website, you can click on buy, and you can notice this is around $7,000 for 1 year subscription. So this is a paid tool, not available for free. But don't worry, luckily there's a trial version. With that trial version, you can exactly understand how to utilize this tool, how to use it in an organization, and perform vulnerability scan efficiently. Okay. So again, all I'm trying to show over here is the practical tools that we'll be working on. Again, the demo today is a bit theoretical, guys, but as we progress with this course, as we go with further sessions, we'll be working practically on all these tools, okay, and a lot more. Okay, Nmap and Nessus specifically for scanning. And once you know what vulnerabilities exist, finally you try to attack on them. And that is the next phase, which is called as gaining access. Okay, so the phase where the real hacking occurs, whatever data was obtained in the earlier phases of information gathering or scanning is utilized here to gain access to the target system or to the target application or to the entire network. Okay. One of the largest modules in our course covers a vast variety of topics, and these are the topics as follows. Okay. Now, before I start explaining about each of these, any questions or doubts up to this point? Ganesh,
Wow.
Aisha, Tanuja. Yeah, Aisha.
So I'm from commerce background,
Mhm,
and till now, whatever I have seen on the screen,
mhm.
it looks a little bit tough for me to understand.
Right.
So, what do you suggest?
Good question, Aisha. Again, as mentioned, you're from a non-technical background, but this course is designed in such a way where even if you're from a non-tech background, you can still understand it easily. Now, some topics I've mentioned here might seem a bit gibberish to you because you might not have some basic fundamental knowledge on what these IP addresses are or what these ports are. But this course is designed in such a way where those topics are covered first, and then you dive into these advanced concepts. So if I give you a brief in the next class, actually, when we take it on Monday, we'll talk about this concept called networking fundamentals. So if I open up this presentation slide here. So in this networking fundamentals, we talk about what networking is, okay, what are networks, what are hosts, what are IP addresses, what is an IPv4 address, okay, what are the categories of IP addresses. So this is all networking fundamentals, which IT people might already know. But this course is again joined by people who can belong from different domains. And for them, I definitely have to include these concepts, which are very fundamental basic concepts. So we'll cover these first, okay? And then once these are done, then we go into the other concepts mentioned in the earlier demo. So in that manner, whatever topics I'm explaining here will be crystal clear to you, and they would be a lot more easier to follow up. Okay. So don't worry, even if you're from non-tech background, all the fundamentals are covered first. We talk about networking fundamentals, we talk about Linux commands, we talk about how do you set up a practical lab in your own system to practice whenever you want to. And after that is done, then we dive into the advanced concepts. Okay. So you'll understand each and every terminology from the very basics. So we'll be covering everything from scratch.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yes.
So nothing to worry, Aisha. I've had students coming from all sorts of backgrounds, from marine engineering, from ECE, from mechanical backgrounds, some from an MBA background, okay, from again from management. So again, all of them have again understood the course very well because we'll be covering everything from the very basics. Okay,
Okay.
sure. So today, some topics might, some terminologies might sound very gibberish to you. You might find it a bit difficult to understand, but don't worry. As we progress, it's all going to make sense. Okay.
Okay.
Ganesh, your mic is muted as well. Any questions?
No, sir. I will take some. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Moving on now, let's talk about the topics, some of the most important topics covered in gaining access modules. Okay, so the first topic we learn here is system hacking. What I mean by system hacking is no matter what device you have, whether it be a Windows 7 system, a Windows 8.1, or Windows 10, Windows 11, doesn't matter what operating system it is. I'm going to show you how do you crack the password for that operating system. So if you have a locked computer right in front of you, how do you crack the password for that system? And if it is too tough to crack, if you're unable to crack it, how do you bypass it? Bypassing in the sense, without even knowing what the password is, how do you still access the internal data of a locked computer? Okay, so that's what we learn in system hacking first. This is quite helpful for you when a hacker himself hacks your device, okay, and he locks you out. So in such a scenario, if he has changed your system's password, how do you recover your data back? That's what we learn in system hacking. Then comes malware attacks. Malware is a word joined from two other words, malicious softwares. 90% of your cyber threats occur through malwares itself. And there's various categories of malwares again. There's viruses, there's spyware, there's worm, there's Trojan, there's a rootkit, whatnot. So we practically learn how do you create each of these malwares from scratch? How do you defend your system from these malwares in an organization? And how do you detect them if they're already installed on your system without your knowledge? So if you don't even know if there's a malware on your system, how do you detect for those? How do you search or look out for those? Okay. Then comes a bonus concept called malwares advanced. Now, this is not included in the curriculum, guys. This is just a bonus concept where I'll be sharing the resources to you to learn how to write your own malwares in Python. Please note, this course has no requirement for any coding language. Okay. You do not need to learn any programming language for this course. This is just a bonus concept. If you're already in a technical background where you know some Python, this will help you to learn how to write malwares in Python. Okay. Other than that, if not, you can completely ignore this bonus concept as well. Okay. Then comes network penetration testing, where we learn what are the common local network attacks. Okay, attacks like sniffing attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attacks, or distributed denial of service attacks, or hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password for Wi-Fi routers. All of this falls under network penetration testing. Okay, so these attacks basically allow you to capture the data of other users. So let's say if I and you were connected in the same network and the same Wi-Fi router network, and if I were the hacker, I can actually capture all the data in this network. I can see what traffic you're sending. I can see what usernames or passwords you're entering. Okay. So that is all called as sniffing or man in the middle attack. Then you have DOS attacks, denial of service, where hackers try to remotely shut down servers. So if there's a website like Amazon or Flipkart, what hackers do is they try to overload the server with huge amounts of packets and they try to make it crash so that it's not accessible for other customers. Those are called as DOS attacks, denial of service attacks. So we practically learn what these attacks are that occur in real time and how do you prevent these attacks as well in an organization. Okay. Then comes social engineering, where we learn how do hackers create fake websites? How do they create an exact replica of a genuine web page or of a genuine login page? And how do they fool the victims into giving out their credentials? So this could be any page again. It could be your social media pages, Facebook, Snapchat. It could be your bank login website, okay, bank login page, or it could be your organization's login page. So how do hackers create an exact replica? How do they generate a fake replica of that website, and how do they send that to the victims, and how do they create the credentials out of it? That's what we learn in social engineering. Okay. Then comes hacking web servers and web applications. Every organization has a server, a web server, or a web application server, and on that you have websites hosted. So you practically learn how to find vulnerabilities or misconfigurations on the web server, which could lead to potential attacks. And what are the attacks on the front end as well? On the website, what attacks could possibly exist? Okay. So you have attacks like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability. Now I know will not make sense. Okay, this is very gibberish to you. But these attacks basically are very commonly available on websites. Okay. And hackers utilize these to perform unwanted actions. Okay. So using these attacks, they can inject malicious queries and get database access. Without even knowing the admin password, they can log into the server or the database as admin. Okay. Without knowing again the username of a certain user, with their cookies, they can log into their account. Okay, they can upload malicious files to a server and get remote connections to servers as well. Okay, so all of this is basically web application attack. If I show you an example for this, the other day I found a vulnerability in a website for Paramedics India, actually. So one second. Yeah. So there's this, oh, this is one more website actually. So there's this website actually, a very commonly used website in India, Central Board of Education in India. So if you notice, this is CBHE Delhi. Okay, Central Board of Higher Education, Delhi. Okay. So again, this is the Central Board of Education in India, frankly, a very important website, and it seems very secure if you notice. Okay. But the other day, I actually found a vulnerability in their login page. I've reported this already. They haven't gotten back to me. So there's a login page here if you notice. Okay, so again, I don't know the username, I don't know the password. This is a genuine website again. It's not. Okay. So what I can do here is I can enter a malicious SQL query. Now, don't worry what that is. We'll talk about that in the upcoming sessions anyhow. But this is a malicious SQL payload here. Okay. Again, please do not replicate this on your end, guys. You might, again, face some legal issues also. Since I have my own cybersecurity firm, I can tell them that I'm a cybersecurity, a pen tester, a web pen tester. I specialize in this. So I'm testing your website and I have reported this to you already. So I've gone through the legal methods itself. Okay. So, but if I click on submit here, you can notice I've got admin access here. Without even knowing what the username or the password for admin is, I've got admin panel to the cbhedelhi.com website, Central Board Education of India. That is a very dangerous thing actually. So if I can delete results of other people, I can check the results of other students. So if I click on show data here, if I click on, let's say, session April or class 10th or again some random year, let's say 2022 or something, show. I've got the students' data here actually. This should not happen, guys, in real time. Okay. So again, that is an example of what these web application vulnerabilities are. Okay. So that's one thing. So similarly, again, just to show you a practical example of what happens in real time. Okay. Evading IDS, IPS, and firewalls. Now moving on to the next topic. So this is where you can basically bypass firewalls or intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention systems in an organization. Then comes vulnerability assessment, where we learn if a system contains a vulnerability, how do you assess it? How do you find out how impactful it is? And how do you verify if it is truly existing on a system or not? Okay. Then finally comes hacking mobile phones, where we learn how do you attack an Android phone? How do you send malicious apps to an Android phone and get complete remote connection to it? Okay. So all of this is basically what gaining access modules covers, attacking every single endpoint here. Okay. As small as a mobile phone to as big as a web application server or a database. Okay. Once all this is covered, then we have two small modules left out, which is maintaining access and reporting or clearing cases. Maintaining access is where once you've gotten a remote connection to a system, you have to maintain a persistent connection with that system, which means if I've hacked your phone, even if you restart your phone, I should still be connected to you. That is what we learn in maintaining access. How do you maintain that connection? And finally, there's reporting or clearing traces, where we learn as an ethical hacker. How do you report these vulnerabilities to the organization? How do you elaborate the loopholes and how do you provide the solutions for it as well as an ethical hacker? Or as a non-ethical hacker, how do you remove all the evidences of your actions? How do you delete the footprints? How do you erase the evidence of your actions and hide your identity and become untraceable? Okay. So the course is going to run in two tracks, guys. First, we practically learn how these attacks are performed. How do hackers perform this in real time? And secondly, we learn how do you protect your organization from these attacks? What are the solutions to prevent these attacks, and what are the methods to or steps to take to keep your organization secure from cyber threats? Okay. The course is for a duration of 35 days. We will practically learn every concept that I've mentioned here with real-time examples as well, just like I've shown you in the demo here. And yeah, you have a class from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each at 7 p.m. So the new batch starts tomorrow itself from Monday at 7 p.m. guys. You can attend the first few classes as demo as well. So from Monday to Wednesday, I suppose you can attend the demos where we talk about networking fundamentals from tomorrow on. Okay. Yeah, that's a brief demo. That's a brief intro to what cybersecurity is, to what ethical hacking is, or to what hacking is. and what are the steps that are taken to perform hacking or ethical hacking, the 5 important steps of a cyber kill chain. Please note, all of these classes are recorded. You will be getting the recordings for each of these sessions once you register, and you'll be getting these presentation notes and PDF documents and all the materials from the organization, from the institute itself, all inclusive in the course price. For any queries regarding the course price or the duration or the date or the link for that, I think you can contact DURGASOFT. They have mentioned the details in the chat box already. Oh, they've given you the demo link in the chat box as well, guys. You can copy paste that link somewhere and you can join the sessions from tomorrow using that demo link in the chat box. Okay. And if you have any further questions also regarding this course or anything that you want to ask privately regarding this course, here's my contact number as well. I've put it in the chat box. So if you have any queries regarding any of these topics here, you can contact me on WhatsApp on this number. Okay. So yeah, that's that. If you have any queries, you can let me know now. Yeah, Aisha, your mic is unmuted. Any questions?
Yeah, 1 second. So, this course, how it will help in job? Like the person who learns this course when he gets the job, how this benefits to the company?
Good question, Aisha. Again, the main objective of the course itself is to land a job in cybersecurity domain. To give you an answer in a very practical manner, you can go to this website called jobs.null.co.in. So this is a website created by a community called Null Community. It's a cybersecurity community which is present worldwide. And in India, they have created a website called jobs.null.co.in. So this is a website specifically for cybersecurity job roles or postings. Okay. So again, these are all the subdomains in cybersecurity. Again, once this course is done, you can apply in 2 departments. You can apply here in BAPT, okay, or you can apply here in freshers, okay, job group, okay. Sometimes in SOC as well, but they might ask experienced candidates here. But just in case, luckily, if they're asking for freshers, you can find it here also. Okay. So if you click on the freshers tab itself, you can see these are all the job roles available. Web penetration tester, cybersecurity content writer, or again, IoT pen tester, security consultant, SOC analyst level 1 or level 2, malware analyst, ethical hacker. Okay. So these are actually the job roles that you can apply for in an organization, where the main job role that you would have is performing a cybersecurity check, okay, testing, performing penetration testing in the organization for all the devices and keeping them up to date without any issues or vulnerabilities. Okay. So that's the job scenario available right now. So once this course is done, you can start applying for all these different job applications. SOC analyst level 2, security consultant, junior security analyst, malware analyst, okay, or the job role ethical hacker itself, okay, ethical hacker, etc., etc. Okay. So these are all the job roles you can apply for. Okay. Where the main agenda of your job role over there is actually, as mentioned, testing the security of each and every endpoint in your organization and keeping the vulnerabilities at bay.
Okay.
Okay. Is that clear, Asha?
Yes.
Right. Any other questions, guys?
I don't have any other question.
Okay. Ganesh, Tanuja.
No, sir, no questions.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for joining the session today, guys. It was great interacting with all of you. Have a good day. And yeah, please do join the session tomorrow at 7 p.m. The link has been mentioned in the chat box. You can copy paste that link somewhere so that you can join it tomorrow as well.
Yes,
And tomorrow
I
we get into
copy
the
pasted.
perfect. So tomorrow we get into the first concept, which is networking fundamentals. What are IP addresses? What are IPv4 addresses specifically? And what are the categories of them? Okay. And why do we need them in the first place? Okay, we'll talk about all that from the very basics. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting session tomorrow. Please do join without fear. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.